Well, hi guys. I don't know if there's anybody out there. I am about to rip into episode number 1 at 2 o'clock, and I just thought in the meantime I'd hop on here and see if there was anybody out there. If there's anybody out there, please write a comment. I'm feeling a bit lonely. I don't normally do this live. I normally do a vlog, which I then post. Well, I post it onto the website, and I also post it as a link from my weekly blog. But I wanted to go live so that you guys could ask questions and comment as we go along. So please do, because it's quite unnerving doing this with a live audience as opposed to just doing it on my own in a recordingly sort of way. I hope that you've all had a good week. I've had a great week. I've had a really good day. I was sick last week and I really just got back into my exercise again properly this week. And I had a really good training session this morning. And so I'm feeling really positive and back on track. And I also feel very positive and back on track with my food plan for my upcoming competition as well, because that kind of got pushed off with my birthday and then being unwell. I found it quite hard to get back on again, like we all do. So I have had to give myself a strict talking to, and as of today, I'm 9 weeks out from my competition. Hi Debbie, I can see you're there. I'm 9 weeks out from my competition today and feeling, yeah, I'm feeling back on track. So, we've got 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes before we launch, and like I say, I'm feeling a little bit nervous about the first time that we're doing it live, but we will see how it goes. So I'm just hanging out here with you. We're going to talk about food and cancer, not in a huge amount of detail, but just generally. We're going to talk about food and taste buds and the first 4 centimetres that Nigel Latter talked about in the paper last weekend, and our thoughts on that. And then I was really lucky that I went to a Doctors for Nutrition breakfast at Ponsonby on Friday at Little Bird. Great breakfast, by the way. And we were talking about the Eat Lancet report, which is all about human health, what we're eating, and the sustainability of the planet. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you there. And that was really interesting as well. So I'd like to kind of pursue that a little bit. If you see me glancing off to the right like that, it's just, well, your left, my right. It's because that's where my notes are. And you know me, I'm such a geek. I will just ramble on and go off and down a rabbit hole if I don't have some notes to follow. So if you see me just glancing over to the side, that's what that is. And you may hear dog noises in the background because I'm joined today by Miss Lily Schnauzer. And oh, that was a nice thank you, Donna Whittle. I'm joined by Miss Lily Schnauzer and Mr. Garrett Poodle, who will no doubt make canine noises in the background as we go along. Okay, we must be nearly at 2. Nearly there, nearly there. So please, any questions that you have or any comments that you have, please stick them down there, and then we can take this in, well, we can take it in whatever direction you guys want to go in. So, hi there, I'm Ginny MacArthur from ginnymacarthur.com. I am a nutritionist, a health coach, and personal trainer. And my passion and my absolute mission is to inspire and help other people to live their longest, happiest, and healthiest lives. And if I can change one person's life in my journey, then I'm happy, I'm doing okay. So as I said, normally I do this on a vlog and then I post it, but today I'm going live on Facebook so that you guys can ask your questions or make comments as we go along. The first thing, last week we touched on the links between nutrition and cancer, and Nigel Latter and the first 4 centimetres. He feels that all the work and preparation that goes into cooking is all for the first 4 centimeters, which is ultimately where your taste buds are, and that it's a waste of time because after that you get no pleasure from it. My mum used to think a little bit like that. I can remember her saying to me, you know, when she was cooking for a family of 6 day in, day out, and working full time and doing everything else she did, that she wished that we didn't have to eat. I can remember her saying, I wish that we could just take a magic pill and that would be our nutrients down and we didn't have to think about it anymore for the day. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm messed up in the head with food, because I remember that. I don't know. But anyway, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, and then we're going to go on and talk about the Eat Lancet report a little bit. I chose this topic because as I enter my 70th decade, and I went to my daughter's dress fitting for her wedding at the weekend, I kind of realized more and more that it's all about the next generation now. You know, it's all about the state that we're leaving the planet in for them and what we're leaving for them, and how we eat and what we choose to eat, from the packaging to the production, has such a catastrophic effect on planet Earth, which is on the brink of collapse, that it seems like a good idea to actually look at what we're eating and the effect it has not only on our health but on the planet too, with a planet that is going to allow us to eat healthily and sustainably and stay alive. And that's taking it purely, obviously, from a nutritionist standpoint. So, yeah, so what we eat and the health of the planet are so closely linked. In New Zealand, our cancer rates across the board, okay, so it's skewed a little bit because of melanoma, because of our sun, high UV, but we are second to Australia in the world. So we have a 68% above the global average cancer rate, which to me seems crazy when we're living in clean, green, God's own. You know, for God's sake, what are we doing wrong? Notwithstanding, we need to slip, slop, slap. We do need vitamin D. So my rule with vitamin D that we talked about for health, and this is for cancer prevention as well, and we talked about it the other week, take your burn time. So how long, if you're out in the sun, it takes you to burn. Cut it by a third and get that much sunlight on your skin, if you can, every day. That gives you enough vitamin D. Even if you only make it 3 or 4 times a week, actually, that gives you enough vitamin D. So notwithstanding that, we have huge breast cancer rates, we have huge prostate cancer rates, which are both, interestingly, hormone linked. We also have, in our Caucasian women, we have the highest rate of gastrointestinal tract cancers in the world. So gastrointestinal tract basically takes you from your mouth to your anus. So right the way through, we have the highest rates in the world, which just, again, it just seems ridiculous. And a lot of it does come from what we eat. And the factors of what we eat is far higher than the environmental factors of chemicals around us. We know that now, you know. So I went out for a walk the other day because I love to get out when I can and try and connect with nature, get some sun on my skin, connect my feet to the earth. And, you know, we're designed to be outside. We're not supposed to be indoors all the time, shut in our little offices. I went out and did that. And the trash on the side of the road, all the trash I saw came from shit food. Yeah, it was plastic, you know, Sprite bottles and Fanta cans. It was throw out KFC. It was throw out McDonald's. So do we have so little regard for what we put into our bodies, as well as for the planet, because we throw it out of our cars as we go along? And what's worse, throwing it down our gobs or throwing it out of our cars? I don't know. You know, and I'm walking along in God's own and I get that, and then I get the ahead of the spray drift from the market gardens, and I'm like, do we care about the food that we produce? Do we care about what we're putting to the air? Do we care about what we're putting into the soil? do we care about our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and what we're doing? It just seems ridiculous. Anyway, I'm not saying that it's our fault if we get cancer, okay? I think that our genes are not our destiny, okay? So we may have a genetic predisposition towards certain cancers, which I know I do. I have a lot of cancer in my family, and that's why I have decided to eat a whole food plant-based diet. It's one of the reasons why I exercise. It's one of the reasons I try and stay reasonably lean, to protect myself, because our genetics don't have to be our destiny. They can predispose us to diseases, but whether we decide to turn those genes on or off is up to the lifestyle choices that we make. You know, for instance, we know about the link between alcohol and breast cancer. We know about the link between processed meats and bowel cancer. And we can choose to eat less of those things and eat more of the things that are so protective against cancers, which are mainly whole food plants. You know, they're plants. Things like flaxseed. Flaxseed, we should all have flaxseed every day because it's a phytoestrogen. It's a phytoestrogen in a good way, not a overly processed soy bad way. And it is incredibly protective against breast cancers. It is actually also protective against prostate cancers. So, you know, we should have those good things in our diet every day. In New Zealand, we need selenium in our diet every day. You know, our soils are depleted. We put it into our animals, but we don't put it into ourselves. 1 Brazil nut a day, that's your selenium done. Selenium is a powerful antioxidant that is powerfully cancer protective. For guys, you know, lycopene, which is in tomatoes, it is so protective against prostate cancer. It's not to have it in there every day. Zinc in pumpkin seeds, another one, really, really protective against prostate cancer. Guys should be eating it every day. Bung it in your husband's porridge with some flaxseed, because he won't have it, because it's a little bit unkosher for a Kiwi guy to be sculling down that kind of thing. So, you know, we can all be proactive in how we look after ourselves. Exercise is also key, you know, so exercise is also key in reducing cancer across the board and also in remission, particularly for breast cancer. We know that for remission, those who exercise daily have a much, much better chance of staying cancer-free than those that don't. So there's lots of proactive things that we can do to help ourselves. What I'm going to do is put together a cheat sheet, if you like, so a freebie cheat sheet, which will give you the top 10 things that you can do on a daily basis to help protect yourself against the cancers which are most prevalent in New Zealand at the moment. So I'm putting that together, and it will be available on jennymacarthur.com. There will be a link to it. But for the moment, if you don't have it already, go in there and jump onto the Quick Start plan, because that essentially gives you a lot of those good options too. So if you haven't already, hop on there and do that. Anybody want to add anything to that or say anything about that? There's no comments in there. Come on, guys, help me here. I'm working real hard. The other thing we were going to talk about was Nigel Latta and the whole first 4 centimeters. So he said that because the first 4 centimeters are where your taste buds are. Now, as I'm always telling you guys, taste buds turn over about every 9 days. So if you're addicted to salt or sugar or crap, if you can avoid it for 9 days, your taste buds will change. We all know that, you know, for instance, if you take tea with sugar and then you go for 5 or 6 or 7 days, preferably 9 or 10 days, without sugar in your tea, and then somebody gives you tea with sugar in, it tastes really, really sweet because your taste buds have turned over and they've changed. And the same goes with salt as well. So, you know, the high tasting sugars and salts and refined foods that we become addicted to. And, you know, we know that good old McDonald's and those kind of things, thank you, Faith, they love to put stuff in there that keeps us addicted and keeps us hooked into those foods. But if you can stay away for about 9 days, you got a much better chance of breaking free. So in America, they scrape their tongues. It's a new thing. It's a new health coaching thing in America. They sell you a tongue scraper, and you scrape the taste buds off your tongue daily. Hi, Daryl. You could, that is supposed to help increase the turnover of your taste buds so that things change more quickly, which I think is pretty hilarious. However, I could do a line in Outlook for Life tongue scrapers. If anybody's interested, just comment below and we'll get onto it. We'll get some made. But food is addictive, and it's addictive beyond that first 4 centimeters. You know, we all have seen those Facebook images of rats' brains that have been lit up by cocaine and then lit up by sugar. So we do get a serotonin and a dopamine hit from the chemicals in foods. We get it from chocolate, we get it from sugars, we get it from actually some quite cool things. We get it from cheese, we get it from kumara. So those things give us a serotonin dopamine hit, which releases feel-good chemicals in our brains that makes us feel good, which is why we then want more of them. So they definitely do become addictive. You know how when you eat an apple, like within 2 hours of eating that apple, every cell in your body is bathed in nutrients from that apple, and that includes your brain cells. So when you choose to eat KFC, your brain cells are bathed in KFC. Go the Colonel. So that's why we use food for comfort and for reward. Women, we use it a lot with our emotional cycle that goes along with our period. So food is so much more than those first 4 inches. Also, we can use food to keep our blood sugars stable. So when your blood sugars are going up and down, if you're eating quick release processed carbohydrates that send your blood sugars up quickly, your brain, you know, you get a really quick blood sugar spike. Your brain goes, holy shit, you're going hyperglycemic, you know, like a diabetic. So it tells your pancreas to throw out lots of insulin to bring your blood sugars down. So then your blood sugars come down very steeply. Your brain then realizes that they're coming down steeply, thinks you're going to go hypoglycemic, so blood sugar's too low, and tells you you need another biscuit. And then you get onto that roller coaster where you can't stop. So again, Nigel, you see, the food, and that also, of course, has an effect on how you're feeling emotionally and your mood. Because if your blood sugars are nice and stable, then life's cool and you can cope with most things. But when your blood sugars are going up and down in peaks and troughs, you can become quite unstable. And that also, when you're getting the troughs, is when you start to crave that sweet stuff that makes you want to binge. So that's why my philosophy with food is to eat every 3 to 3.5 hours. And I know that that's not everybody's philosophy at the moment, and there's many roads to Rome, and it's what works for you. But for my body, because I'm very sensitive to sugars, I'm far better if I eat every 3.5 hours and I keep my blood sugars nice and stable. Otherwise, I binge. That's how I became bulimic. I would eat out the whole cupboard when my blood sugars got too low. So for me, I eat about every 3.5 hours. I don't eat processed carbohydrates. The carbohydrates that I do eat, I tend to put with a good fat or with a protein, which slows the release of the glucose even more. so that the sugar is going out into my bloodstream really, really slowly. And then I can function, I can think straight, I can exercise, I can get on and do what I do in a day. Also, I don't get too hungry so that I don't overeat when I do eat. You know, we know that if you eat after 3.5 hours, you will get, you know, your blood sugars will have dropped. And I know this because I check mine all the time. I prick my finger all the time. Then so you eat after 3.5 hours, your blood sugars will come up, they'll level off, feed out slowly, then they'll start to drop down again. If you wait for 5.5 hours, your blood sugars will have dropped a little bit lower. You eat that same meal and your blood sugars will go up very, very quickly. So they go up through the roof. And again, then you have that effect of them dropping down quickly. Also for women and weight control, because our insulin, when we have a high blood background insulin level, we're going to store fat and we're going to store it around our middle. Okay, so every time you're giving yourself a blood sugar spike and you're pushing out insulin to control that, you can't burn fat. You're stuck wearing your body fat around the middle for the next kind of 2.5 hours afterwards. And you can't release the fat that you already have stored in those fat cells, particularly around your middle, for the next 2.5 hours afterwards. So that's another reason why what we eat is so much more important than the taste buds. I think that we should use food for pleasure, and we do use food culturally to celebrate life, and we need to be able to do that. But that's only 15 to 20% of what you eat in a week. Your 85, 90% of what you eat in a week should be balanced, and it should be fuel, and it should be good nutrition. Then have that window for your 15 to 20% treat foods, which can be your high glycemic foods, if that's what you wish. Then you're only getting that blood sugar spike once a week with that free meal or that afternoon off, rather than doing it every single day with little things and wasting it. So obviously food controls not only our blood sugars, it affects our energy, our mood, our satiety. And you all know how bad you feel after eating crap, because as I said, every cell of you is made from what you eat. And when you choose to eat, sorry, KFC just comes to mind because of the trash that was out around the block in the ditches. And when you choose to eat KFC, every cell of who you are and how you think and what you do is bathed in KFC. So beige crap, there ain't no nutrients in that, baby. Oh, except maybe a little bit in the coleslaw, but probably only a little bit. What else? We're also learning more and more about the brain-gut connection. Now we know the vagus nerve, which passes very, very close to the gut. The cell walls, the walls of the gut are only 1 cell thick, so the gut-blood barrier there is only 1 cell thick. It has a huge effect on how we feel and our moods, and how we feed our gut flora has a huge effect on how we feel and our moods. So our gut flora weighs about 2 kilos, you know, it's like that big, weighs about 2 kilos, and we can choose to feed the good guys, we can choose to feed the bad guys, we can get it all out of kilter. We now know that there's big links between all kinds of things, from Alzheimer's to Tourette's, even to Parkinson's to depression. There are huge links between all of those things and the flora in our gut. So how we feed the flora in our gut is also incredibly important. So I'll also do a cheat sheet on the 10 foods that give you the greatest satiety and help you to control binging. How about that? All right, so we got the cancer foods, the binging foods. So then the last thing I wanted to talk about was my great breakfast last week at Little Bird Organics, the Unbakery in Ponsonby. I'd never been there before, and I was very impressed, I must say. It was very, very nice. Doctors for Nutrition are a group of doctors that started in the States, and We now have little satellite pots of them in primarily in Melbourne and Brisbane and Sydney, and also in Auckland and Nelson. And they are doctors who, at long last, are starting to try and prevent disease, particularly lifestyle diseases, but also things like MS. Really good case studies on things involving the neuromuscular connections and the myelin sheaths, but particularly heart disease, which we know we can prevent and reverse with nutrition. Some cancers, which we know we can prevent and halt with nutrition. Diabetes, which we know, type 2 diabetes, which we know we can prevent and reverse with nutrition. So we now have a really good group of proactive doctors who are trying to use food as medicine rather than medicine as medicine at the, oh, I'm getting lots of little signals coming up, that's cool. Rather than using medicines as medicines at the bottom of the cliff. So that has been really cool to be involved with. And when we got together on Friday, we were talking about the Eat Lancet, which is a report produced by the Lancet, which took 37 international experts about 3 years to come up with. And it was looking at not only the health of our populations, I'll read you a little bit of it, but also the health of the planet. And basically, we have here 2.1 billion adults overweight or obese, and the global prevalence of diabetes has almost doubled in the last 30 years. Unhealthy diets are the largest global burden of disease and pose a greater risk to morbidity and mortality than does unsafe sex, alcohol, drug, and tobacco use combined. So why don't we get it? Why don't people get it? Why do they still eat the same old shit? I just don't get it. So many New Zealand health professionals are applauding a landmark report that outlines how to achieve healthy and sustainable eating patterns for a future global population of 10 billion people. The report was produced by the Eat Lancet Commission on Food, Planet and Health. The current global food system is known to have harmful effects on both human and planetary health. Unhealthy diets are a major contributor to rapidly increasing rates of non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancers. At the same time, global food production is threatening local ecosystems and pushing the limits of Earth's natural systems. The Commission recognises that it will be impossible to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals or the Paris Climate Agreement without a radical transformation of the global food system. It outlines a planetary health diet which recommends intake levels of various food groups that can be adapted to local geography, traditions and personal preferences. For countries like New Zealand, this will entail substantial dietary shifts. That's because we eat so much animal protein. It will require a significant reduction in consumption of red meat and other animal products, and a corresponding increase in the consumption of whole plant-based foods such as nuts, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. So it goes on. It basically says that not just for our own health, but for the health of the planet, and therefore to leave somewhere for our grandchildren and children, we need to be eating more plant-based food, so more fruit, more vegetables, more legumes, more nuts, a small amount of seafood and poultry, and little or no red meat. It doesn't actually mention dairy, but interesting. That alongside Canada just changed their healthy eating guide as well about a month ago, actually advising for the first time to eat less meat, basically less animal protein. So there is a real push now both for our health and the health of our planet and our children and our children's children towards eating less animal products. Okay, we've done that. So to save yourself, your grandchildren, and the planet, we need to move towards eating a plant-based whole food diet that has the least impact on the planet in terms of emissions, chemicals, and packaging as well. So if you're interested in more information on how to just start to eat this way, I'm not saying you have to go vegan. I'm just saying that it makes sense to look at where our food is coming from, what we're putting into our bodies, what effect that's having on our health, what effect that's having on our planet. Can we protect ourselves from lifestyle diseases? Can we keep ourselves young? Yes. Healthy? Yes. Active? Yes. And lean as well, because I know for a lot of you, one of your main focuses is weight loss. And happily, eating in this way goes hand in hand with being leaner and healthier. So please, if you haven't already, jump over to my website, ginnymacarthur.com, grab the startup plan. It's just an overview. Have a little look, see what you think. And I will be producing some cheat sheets regarding today over the next little while. If you have any other questions or comments, please shove them below. I'm really happy to interact with you all, and look forward to seeing you all next week. Have an awesome week. I'm going to. Take care, guys. Bye.